Marilyn Manson is a figure who has always had a lot of stigma around him. And I'm not just talking about the pearl clutching regarding the satanic imagery, sexual themes, and swearing in the lyrics, but also when it comes to fans of music who aren't necessarily bothered by any of these things. I got the perception from people that Manson's music was considered bad taste, that he's a try-hard edgelord who is all style and no substance. The type of music someone listens to as a teenager to seem cool and edgy, but quickly grows out of and later finds cringy and embarrassing. There's also the angle that Marilyn Manson's persona is very androgynous, and a significant portion of his audience are women, which leads some people to write off Manson's music as being gay or that it's metal for girls. This is largely the impression I got, especially from the opinions of fellow metalheads over the years. A dismissive attitude, that mentioning you are a fan of Manson is inviting ridicule, or at the very least, an eye roll. But are Manson's lyrics and persona merely shallow edgelord cringe, or are they actually a bit deeper than you would expect? You may or may not be familiar with Marshall McLuhan, who was a bit of a celebrity back in the 1960s, a bit of a philosopher, a bit of a comedian, a bit of an oracle or religious prophet. He is an interesting character, to say the least. He is famous for the phrase and book, "The medium is the massage," which, yes, was a typo. It's supposed to be, "The medium is the message," but he liked the typo, as the medium itself massages you. It makes an impact. The medium shapes you in more ways than you can imagine. McLuhan also predicted we were leaving behind the age of print, which was an age of individualism, where people were detached from the affairs of others.
Everything that we prize in our Western world in matters of individualism and separatism and of a unique point of view, a private judgment, all those factors are highly favored by the printed word and not really favored by other forms of culture.
And into an age of television, which was an age where one could not be detached.
Then suddenly we encounter the electric or electromagnetism, which seems to have a totally different principle, for some people feel, an extension of our nervous system, not an extension of merely of our bodies. If the wheel is an extension of feet and tools of hands, back, arms, the electromagnetism seems to be in its technological manifestations an extension of our nerves.
Where everyone is involved with everyone else. An age of the masses. In other words, the medium is the mass age. As you can see, McLuhan loved wordplay, puns, and other poetic devices. He lived by his motto. His style was his substance. And Marilyn Manson is much the same with his lyricism, and he actually takes direct influence from McLuhan. On Mechanical Animals, Manson references McLuhan's book, The Mechanical Bride. And the track Deep Six is basically an entire passage of McLuhan put to music.
Love is evil, God is confidence, heroes soar,
This section is full of wordplay. Confidence containing the word con, eros being sore spelled backwards, and sincere having within it the word sin. The love is evil part might seem like a reach, but remember, both McLuhan and Manson are auditory, or as McLuhan says, acoustic. They are artists in the realm of the auditory rather than the visual. It matters much more how it sounds when it's spoken, rather than how it looks when it's written. And this is something to keep in mind when it comes to both of these figures. Even though McLuhan wrote books, it's hard not to hear his voice in your head as you read it, and it's perhaps best read out loud. The Medium is the Massage is a very unconventional book, as every page contains a picture and the actual text is sparse. Sometimes only a sentence across 2 whole pages, or at most a couple of paragraphs on a single page. He predicted we were leaving behind the world of the printed word and into an age of instantaneous interconnectivity, which was already true in the television age, but has only gotten more accurate in the age of the internet. McLuhan argues that technology is an extension of the body, as in the wheel is an extension of the foot, or the book is the extension of the eye. Television, and I'd argue the internet as well, are the extension of the nervous system. And McLuhan says the extension of the nervous system on a global scale is so overwhelming for us that the only way we can cope is to completely numb ourselves. The Manson track, Disassociative, is about this. It describes feeling like a dead astronaut in space, and uses the phrase, the nervous system's down. And there's also the line, when the spirit is so digital, the body acts this way.
When the spirit is so digital, the body acts this way.
As the result of technology, the nervous system feels everything, and therefore nothing. The body numbs itself and dissociates. The track is also lyrically similar to Space Oddity by David Bowie, with the astronaut in space losing contact with the Earth below. But Disassociative is more overtly dark, rather than the ambiguity of Bowie's classic. Back to McLuhan, he references the story of Narcissus, but flips it on its head. The normal reading of the tale of Narcissus is that he fell in love with himself. However, McLuhan argues that he actually fell in love with the reflection. The medium of the mirror paralyzed Narcissus because it gave him an awareness that he previously did not possess, which McLuhan refers to as Narcissus narcosis, much like how people become paralyzed by their phones due to the overstimulation of excessive awareness of everything in the world simultaneously. Interestingly, Manson has a track on Hollywood called Target Audience, Narcissus Narcosis, which is largely about him reacting to the negative stigma around his persona and the scapegoating by the media.
I see all the deceivers, I just sing that song.
Of course, Marilyn Manson is not his real name. His name is Brian Warner, and while you could argue based on his music that he is a bit self-obsessed and a bit narcissistic, to the extent that he is that, he is not in love with himself. He is not in love with Brian Warner. He is enthralled by Marilyn Manson, his reflection, his persona. This theme is brought back in the track Deep Six off The Pale Emperor with another McLuhan reference. You want to know what Zeus said to Narcissus? You better watch yourself.
Wanna know what Zeus said to Narcissus? Better watch yourself.
Which is another fun wordplay by McLuhan, but is also quite profound in reference to technological mediums. Even I, as a low-level YouTuber, spend an inordinate amount of time, quite literally, watching myself. I have succumbed to the same fate as Narcissus, but instead of a body of water or a mirror, I spend hours staring at a laptop screen, watching myself, just to edit my videos. The normal reading of Narcissus that states that he is merely in love with himself teaches us very little. But the McLuhan reading that Narcissus is paralyzed by his own self-awareness is far more insightful, not to mention uncomfortable. Technology turns us all into narcissists, but not in the way that we conventionally think about narcissism. Marilyn Manson might be one of the most self-aware rock stars to have ever reached the level of success that he has. His music is a commentary on fame and success, even as he was in the midst of his own peak popularity. He seems to be keenly aware of the fact that the medium is the message, and the persona of Marilyn Manson is both the medium and the message in a very on-the-nose sort of way. And that's why people are very opinionated and reactive when Manson comes up in discussion. Manson was so effective at marketing his own persona that almost everyone has a strong opinion on him. Whether that be his adoring fangirls, the pearl-clutching Christians that tried to cancel him, or the tough guy metalheads eager to go on a 20-minute rant on why he's such a poser. Manson was brilliant at curating an image that would get everyone talking about him. Even if you don't like his music, you gotta admit, the man was a marketing genius. And McLuhan also once said that advertising was the ultimate art form of the 20th century. Another McLuhan-esque Manson track is Lamb of God. The first line is, "There was Christ in the metal shell."
There was Christ in the metal shell.
The metal shell is the car. McLuhan referred to the car as the car apace of man, a metal shell that men reside in. The Christ within this metal shell is American President John F. Kennedy, who of course was assassinated in his car. This perhaps contributes to the shock of his death, as we innately assume that we are safer in the protective exoskeleton of the car than we are outside of it. So being shot while in a car is extra shocking. Also, fun fact, I once went into a church, and I kid you not, there was a picture of Jesus, and right next to it, a picture of John F. Kennedy, and underneath it, it said, "They both died for us." They were elevating JFK to a Christ-like martyr status. This is especially unhinged when you take into account that this church is in Canada, and it was pretty recent too, this was only a few years back. Yet it was deifying an American president from the 1960s. The track Lamb of God also references John Lennon and his assassination. Both JFK and John Lennon had mass media coverage of their deaths. The chorus of the track is, "If you die and no one's watching, then your ratings drop and you're forgotten. If they kill you on the TV, you're a martyr and a Lamb of God."
If they kill you on the TV, you're a martyr and a Lamb of God.
This is another track about the importance of media. What is amplified by mass media is deemed important, but that which is not recorded might as well not be real. As Manson mentions in another track, "Rock is dead. God is in the TV."
God is in the TV.
The holy book used to be the holy medium. Now the almighty screen is the object of religious devotion. We get our commandments from a very different type of tablet than the stone ones of Moses. For some time now, the world has been moving away from the religion of books and into the electric age, which bizarrely brings us full circle back to more pagan and tribal ways of living. This is what Nietzsche suggested when he proclaimed the death of God, the end of the era where the holy book reigns supreme. This is also what people into astrology describe as the ending of the age of Pisces and the beginning of the age of Aquarius. And furthermore, it's even one interpretation of my own channel's name. Our acculturation is this process of paganization happening all around us. Marilyn Manson cleverly played the role of this antichrist figure right at the end of the 20th century, a century that served as the transition period between the printing press era of the 19th century and the mass media age of the 21st century. Art imitates life, and we are all narcissists staring at ourselves. After all, here we are watching YouTube. The medium is the message, and our acculturation continues.
Environment as merely a set of ground rules and as a kind of overall enveloping force gets very little recognition as a form, except from the artist. I think our arts, if you look at them in this connection, do throw quite a lot of light on environments. The artist is usually engaged in somewhat excitedly explaining to people the character of new environments and new strategies of culture necessary to cope with them.